Hey guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic and welcome back to the channel. And today, for you guys, this is another movie review. Today we're tackling the latest DreamWorks animated film, Dogman. Now look, I know I wanted to get this review out a few days ago. A lot of schoolwork is happening right now, a lot of lesson plans and grading and blah. Anyway, we are back talking a movie, finally, right? I can finally post a video, for God's sake. And don't worry, my Black Panther 2 review, Guardians 3, it's on the way, don't worry. But I figured, hey, I saw Dogman, might as well review it. So yeah, when it comes with these, DreamWorks animated films, right? These DreamWorks films, some of them are great, right? Like some of them are effing like God tier. How to Train Your Dragon trilogy is great. Shrek's fine. You've got Kung Fu Panda. Those are good, I guess. To me, DreamWorks has always kind of been the the younger brother of Disney, I guess, in a sense, where it's like, yeah, they're good, and some of them are like top tier animated film. They're freaking great, but some of them aren't as good. Over the Hedge, that weird horse one. Trolls, I don't give a fudge about Trolls. So some of them are good, some of them I don't care about, and some of them are, not that great. But my all-time favorite, probably top 2 or 3 DreamWorks films would be one, Rise of the Guardians. I think that is a masterpiece, one of the best films I've ever seen in my entire life. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, Puss in Boots 1. I think those 3 are like top tier DreamWorks. And then, Dogman comes out, and I'm like, oh, cool. I haven't read the books. I know nothing about this effing character, nothing. I saw the trailer, and my mom and dad were like, hey, we'll go see that as a family, it'll be a fun time. And it's by Dave Pilkey, Dov Pilkey, however the fudge you say his name. The Captain Underpants guy, right? When I was a kid, I'm 26 now, but when I was a kid, Captain Underpants, I'm such a boomer. I remember when that came out, and I remember when Diary of a Wimpy Kid released. I remember that. You probably don't, but I do. And they were big, they were really big, good movies, or good books. Captain Underpants, obviously more for kids, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid is kind of an all-ages book. Captain Underpants, obviously it's a fat guy in his underpants. I guess that's funny to some people, but, when I was a kid, it was the funniest shit in the world. And going back to that now, I was like, oh, cool. I actually haven't seen the Captain Underpants film. I heard it's actually really good. So I said, hey, this is Dave Pilkey. I'm just going to say it like that. Dave Pilkey is making a new books. I haven't read them, but I know about him. Let's go see this film. And yeah, the film's good, right? Is it amazing? No. Is it top tier DreamWorks? No. But it ain't bad either, okay? I think it strikes a pretty good balance. Again, coming from a guy who has not read these books, I know nothing. I saw the trailer where the guy dies, I guess, and the dog dies, I guess. And they're not dead, but they're mortally wounded, right? And the doctors kind of do like a 1989 Batman Jack Nicholson-esque surgery where they're like, let's just sew the effing dog's head on the human's body and call it a day. And they're like, perfect! And yeah, it is a bit odd to see a quote-unquote children's book character. I know that people of all ages read Dogman. I haven't read it. So, I don't know if it's just like a just for children thing. I don't know. I'm assuming it's for all ages. That's what this film is geared towards. But I think that this one is, it's a little wonky to, read a quote-unquote kids book where, there's a human and you can visibly see the black stitches where the dog's head goes on the human. Little weird, little left up. That I guess that's Dave Pilkey and his kind of sense of humor or whatnot. His kind of, Tim Burton-esque macabre writing brain, I don't know. But the movie itself is good, okay? I think the animation, obviously that stands out as being the central point. It looks good. It's got that Captain Underpants style. It's got that, remember when Into the Spider-Verse came out and it was like, super stylized and it had like the stop motion, like 24 FPS or whatever, it had that kind of stop motion, different comic book feel to that film. And of course, Across the Spider-Verse has the same thing. But that movie, as much as you love Into the Spider-Verse, I think it's fine. I think it's good. Not my favorite movie ever, but I think it is a good Marvel movie. That movie, really kind of set the boundaries for what animated films can look like and what they can feel like. Because then you get, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and that kind of, took inspiration from all that. And then you kind of get to this as well, where, yeah, like, we're not just getting the Coco and the WALL-E and the Cars and the Incredibles, where, it's all kind of like that same animated look to it. They're obviously different, but they kind of have that same, generic, in a way, 3D look to it. Now we're getting shit that isn't the same. We're getting these diverse and varied animated styles. I don't know why I said it like that. Animated styles, right, of this animation. And it's really cool to see that. And yeah, Dogman looks good. I think it looks really good. I think the animation stands out. It's fun. It's got a lot of frenetic action scenes and all that. You know, there's like certain comic booky elements where like, you know, a character will yawn, or just, I love it so much I'm dying, or say a word or whatever, and, you know, words come up on the screen or whatnot. So it's got elements of that where, you know, it's got that, like, flair aspect where you're like, oh, you know, they're doing something different, they're doing something unique, and I thought that was, you know, actually kind of cool. You get to the comedy, right? This is, obviously, it's an animated comedy, so it's supposed to be funny. And I'll say this is a very, very, very fast-paced film. And it's not that way because it's a baby kids movie. If you read the books, which I haven't, you'll know that the books are, you know, his sense of humor, Dave Pilkey's sense of humor for Captain Underpants. I think, like, what is it, a fucking super diaper baby or something? I don't know. You know, the black baby with the superpower. I think it's super diaper baby. And then you get, you know, Dogman and all that. He has a very specific sense of humor, and, you know, his comic panels, in a way, for his books are very fast-paced, and they got a lot of jokes and stuff to them, you know, a lot of inside jokes, a lot of references, a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of that fun stuff. So yeah, this is a very fast-paced film. However, I'm gonna quickly, I guess, reference the Lego Movie, right? The 4 Lego movies. We'll just talk about the first one just for time's sake and for this video's sake. The Lego Movie one works so well in terms of its comedy because, yeah, the Lego Movie is a fast-paced movie. There are jokes happening in the foreground, in the background. You get characters saying stuff that's funny. You get some guy in the background that's flopping around that's funny, or farting in a tub, or you know, whatever. There's comedy in the action scenes. It's funny because they're Lego and they move like stop motion. There is literally constant humor in the Lego Movie. Constant. You are almost unless your sense of humor is F, then you're just a really old boomer. You are constantly smiling or laughing or chuckling or making that weird sound when you breathe through your nose constantly in the Lego Movie, right? And that's because, yes, the Lego Movie's fast-paced. But the thing is, the Lego Movie's fast-paced jokes work. And they're almost, I would even say they're all funny. Every joke lands in that movie for me. In all 4 of the movies. But really, you know, that first one, for time's sake, the Lego Movie has crazy stuff happening 24/7, but it's actually all funny. This film has the same thing, right? There's a lot of fun elements too, but there's a lot of fast-paced jokes that happen, and, you know, you're constantly the Petey, you know, the bad cat, the Garfield-looking slim, thin cat. It's basically Tom and Jerry the movie with a dog man cop guy, pretty much, you know. Petey the cat's kind of going crazy, and you get little Petey who's in the books. You get you know, Dogman. You get the reporter lady, whatever her name was. You get the chief, and yeah, like there's a lot of characters, a lot of funny moments, and a lot of things that are happening at once. It's almost, like I said, a very constant thing. But the film, some of the jokes land, most of them do, but the ones that don't, it feels almost exhausting. Now, to a kid, it could feel exhausting too. A kid with ADHD, they're going to have a goddamn blast. They're going to love the shit out of this film because it's constant, it's just colors and lights. And again, I know that this film will appeal to children, but it's not strictly made for children, right? It's for everyone. Everyone, regardless of age, should enjoy this movie, right? It shouldn't be like, oh, well, it's fast-paced because it's for babies. You know, like, no, like, that's not an excuse. You want your movie to appeal to, unless it actually is for children only, like Dora, or Arthur, or Thomas, right? But this is a film for everyone, kids, teens, and adults. And I think that the kids, certain kids will have a great time. You know, I had a great time. I enjoyed this film. But yeah, there are certain elements where I was like, oh, this is effing fast. You know what I mean? Like, I play Call of Duty and shit, man, but like, this is quick. You know what I mean? This is fast-paced. So yeah, look, the animation's good. The comedy, for the most part, works. Again, it could be a little bit fast-paced. The pacing is a bit of an odd entity in this film because some of it is, like, very fast. It's like, you know, jokes and jokes and jokes. And then it kind of slows down, right? Because Dogman doesn't talk. Dogman goes, you know, he's a dog. So, you know, a dog with a human body. But you have these scenes where, you know, stuff's happening, and then you have Dogman, and he's, you know, the plot has to eventually, you know, it's not just Dogman versus Petey, right? Like, you have an actual plot, which I'm not going to ruin it, because I do recommend you see this in theaters. You know, you get this sense of Dogman, you know, there was a dog and there was a human, and then they both got kind of merged together after this explosion happens, right? It's in the trailer. And you kind of see this element with this tennis ball and all that, and you know, Dogman's kind of missing his old life and all that. He feels like he doesn't really belong. And he kind of wants to find a sense of purpose. And of course, that's when he finds little Petey, which Petey the cat or whatever clones him. I'm not going to ruin the whole film. You got to actually watch the movie. But, you know, stuff happens. And there is a good amount of actual mature storytelling. You know, you get your crazy fun action. You get your comedy that appeals to everyone. But then you also have your more mature storyline where, like, there's a moment where, of course, my mom cries at everything. But she was crying. I think my dad was effing crying. I don't know. I saw him wipe his face. I didn't cry because I don't know. I guess I'm a demon or something. But it did get me, right? Like, I wasn't expecting the film to have the amount of heart that it did. And after the film ended, I was like, oh shit, like, you know, we actually had, this wasn't just a stupid baby movie for babies, you know, for newborn fetuses, you know what I mean? This actually has depth to it. I didn't expect Dogman to have depth, right? Again, I haven't read the books. Maybe they do. I got no clue. But, you know, for Captain Underpants, I know that for what I remember at least, a lot of those books are just, you know, crazy, stupid, potty fart humor, which is, you know, that's the point. That's what it's supposed to be. Captain Underpants is not supposed to be, you know, the Last Jedi of poopy fart jokes. But at the same time, you know, I didn't know what to expect for Dogman. I was expecting the same thing. And to actually, you know, have a good, you know, decent plot with you know, good colors and good animation and you know, jokes that land most of the time. I think, you know, I walked away pretty surprised, man. I think it was a pretty freaking good movie, you know? I mean, is this something that you need to absolutely watch? No. But if you've read the books, you like Captain Underpants, and you just like these DreamWorks-style films, I think it's a good watch for any age, you know what I mean? I think it is a fun time. There is a little bit of that pacing issue where, again, sometimes it feels like there's joke after joke after joke, and then it just goes right into, like, you know, like a few sad or slow scenes where I'm watching it, and, you know, I'm not bored because I'm 26, but, you know, the kids are like, wow, jokes, 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 and then it just immediately cuts to, like, Dogman having existential effing dread in his house. And then you get, you know, Petey, and his dad shows up, and he's, you know, Petey is kind of trying to raise little Petey to be like a horrible person because he's a bad guy, and, you know, little Petey's getting all these conflicting things. There's a lot, you know, a lot of depth and maturity to the story. And, you know, obviously, you know, when you're looking at, what was it, the Lego Piece by Piece film, that Pharrell Williams Lego effing movie or whatever that was, not a bad film, but that movie really, really had a lot of tonal maturity to it, where it kind of felt like, you know, I know Lego is for everyone, right? But that movie, I was like, oh shit, like they're swearing, and there's half-naked Lego women. Again, not complaining, I know they're plastic, but still. And then you get the drugs, and it was a crazy movie. So this one isn't as, you know, intense as Piece by Piece was in terms of its thematic storytelling, but this does feel like that. You know, there are moments where I'm like, oh wow, they're actually attempting to tell a actual story, you know, and I think they actually succeeded. There are a few moments where, like, you know, they're like, I don't want to ruin it, but like they have like they'll talk about a scene, or like they'll show a building, right, and then like the audience, me, is going, oh, okay, that's going to play an important part in the next scene. And then they don't even bring that up until like 8 scenes later or 10 scenes later. And, you know, they revisit an old scene. And I'm like, you're losing me. Like, I'm not an idiot. I wasn't ever confused. But I'm like, you're kind of losing what you want to tell your story about. Like, they have this building and they're like, here's a pipe to bring something back to life. Here's a pipe that doesn't bring it to life. Okay, remember that. And then it cuts, and like 15 minutes later or whatever, we have to get back to the building. And I'm just like, what is the pacing's insane, you know what I mean? There's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. So yeah, it can be a lot to juggle. You get a talking fish voiced by Ricky Gervais, which I think he actually did a really bad job in this film. I really didn't like his voice acting. Maybe it's just his voice that annoys me, but I didn't feel like he did a good job in this role. But he's a talking purple fish or whatever, and you know, that plays a role. The talking buildings going gooba gaba bluba fluba or whatever the F they're saying. I know all this shit's in the book that I haven't read, but still. It is interesting to see that, yeah, you know, they're doing it, right? Like, they're making a movie. They have all the crazy references and Easter eggs and callbacks and whatever to the book series, and then you get your story. But yeah, sometimes I felt like the pacing was a little bit off, and I'm like, okay, we need to revisit the scene a little bit later, or, you know, maybe not take so long of a lull between, you know, scenes and all that. There's also some weird animation, like, glitches where, like, the character kind of, like, you know, right, like, literally right before the shot cuts to another shot, like, the animation will, like, briefly hitch or pause. It wasn't my theater, it was the movie, and it only happened once or twice, but I did notice it. I guess it's because I got my glasses on and I'm looking for that kind of stuff, but I did notice it, and I was like, oh, that's kind of jarring. So yeah, I get it, you know, it's hard to make an animated film, but I think a little bit of care should have taken into those things, because, you know, the sad thing with films, not necessarily me, but some people, you know, they could see 100 good things, and not talk about it. But they can see one bad thing and they'll go to effing town. You know what I mean? Oh, this is fucking garbage. You know, they'll go crazy. And then, you know, the 100 good things, they're like, yeah, I guess that was fine. But let's talk about the bad stuff. You know, that's kind of how people work. And yeah, I happen to notice those two little animation glitches. So yeah, this is not a perfect film. This is not the best film ever made. But it's a lot better than what I thought it was going to be. You know, again, I walked out, I laughed, I had a good time, and it actually had a good, mature story as well. I think, you know, especially toward the end with the heart and the messages that they're trying to tell, I think they did a pretty good job. You know what I mean? Some of it is a little bit too fast-paced for me. Again, I don't want to hear the excuse of, well, it's not made for you, it's made for babies. Like, no, animation is for everyone unless it's specifically not. Like this, like Dora, you know what I mean? Like something that's, and you can tell when something's made for an actual toddler versus kids, teens, and adults. This is for everyone. And yeah, you know, I think regardless of your age, you're gonna have fun. You know, it's Dogman, okay? This is not the most important film in the world, but I think it, for what they wanted to do and the story they wanted to tell, I think they did a fine job. You know what I mean? Again, I haven't seen that Captain Underpants film. I do want to watch that. I just never got around to it. But, you know, I think DreamWorks, you know, sometimes they put out absolute effing masterpieces. Sometimes they put out forgettable garbage. And I think this is actually kind of in the middle, right? Like, it's some of it, I probably won't remember all the fine details in a month or two. But at the same time, this was good enough and memorable enough where I walked out and I said, okay, I liked this, and I liked that, and I liked that, and I didn't like that. You know, it wasn't like I walked into the theater and I was like, what the fudge did I just watch? You know, what the heck was that? This is garbage. Like, I genuinely enjoyed it, and I wasn't expecting to, you know what I mean? I was expecting an hour and a half or whatever of Tom and Jerry hijinks, and yeah, like, that works, right? Like, The Bad Guys has that, right? But The Bad Guys obviously is a better film than this, but that movie had a lot of depth as well, and I think that's what DreamWorks did good with this one, you know what I mean? Like I said, they had that element of it where it had the heart and it had the message where, you know, by the end of it you felt like, oh, okay, this kind of all makes sense with this character and with this character, and this character actually has a character arc. In Dogman, they go through arcs, and I think it has some pretty good messaging that, you know, everyone, regardless of your age, can enjoy. I thought it was a pretty fun time. Again, not perfect, some pacing issues, a few animation issues. You know, some of the jokes don't land, whereas, you know, like I said, the Lego Movie, for example, both films are fast-paced. Lego Movie humor, for me, always landed, and you know, this one, it wasn't like I wasn't laughing every 5 seconds, but you know, there are some jokes where I'm like, okay, you know, I get it. You know, it's in the trailer where, you know, like Dogman's like licking the inside of the chief's mouth, and he's like yelling at him. He's like, why do you lick the inside of my mouth? What are you doing? And I'm like, okay. Like, there's a lot of that where it's like characters are just bitching and yelling at other characters, and I'm like, is that funny? Is that supposed to be funny? Like a cop getting mad at a dog? Why would you put that in the effing trailer? You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, for me, characters yelling at other characters isn't really funny. That can be funny, but in this, I kind of felt a little bit awkward at times. So yeah, you know, it's not perfect, but I think, you know, walking out of this film expecting pretty much mindless garbage. I mean, hey, I got popcorn, so that was fun. But no, I walked out and I said, hey, this is actually better than what I thought. You know, I had a pretty good time. So I'm going to give Dogman, let's see, I'll probably give Dogman a B. I thought it was good. You know, I definitely, I might get it on Blu-ray. I think it's probably worthy of a Blu-ray purchase, I would say. Not every DreamWorks film is, you know what I mean? I've seen Shrek and I've seen Kung Fu Panda, but I wouldn't buy those on Blu-ray. They're good, you know, Madagascar, those are good, you know. But, again, in terms of DreamWorks, for me, it's Rise of the Guardians, the two Puss in Boots films. Again, you know, I like Kung Fu Panda, I like How to Train Your Dragon, I like Madagascar. I don't mind Shrek, I guess. Apparently we're getting Shrek 5 in a year or two, but this one, it inched its way up, and, you know, not as good as Puss in Boots 1 and 2 or Rise of the Guardians, but it is good enough where if you were kind of on the fence and you're like, Dogman looks kind of childish, looks kind of dumb, I don't know about that, the animation's not really that great, but it's fun, you know what I mean? It's a fun time, it's got some good morals in there, and it hits you right in the feels where you pretty much least expect it. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on Dogman below. Again, it's got some crazy fight scenes as well, some good animation, good cinematography. So yeah, you know, like I said, it's more competent than you might expect at first glance. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.